Well, welcome back, everybody, to yet another podcast of the Beyond Business series. Carly is going to run us through exactly what this purpose is about this podcast.
Thanks, Bram. You know, we've been running these lives now for a couple of years. We started back in when it was COVID, and we wanted to switch it up a bit because we've got a lot of people that come and join, and we wanted to meet their needs in a more holistic way. So these sessions are really for leaders that have a growth mindset, that are purpose-driven leaders that actually want to make an impact without burning out. So they could be leaders who are growing a team. They could have built something from the ground up, okay? Or they actually feel like they're just wearing so many hats and want some words of wisdom or advice or sharing of stories from our lovely guests around some of the things that are critically important for leaders to make an impact in today's world.
Great stuff. And the word impact is a great one. Now we've got our first guest of the new financial year lined up. She was very kind to jump in as we kind of double booked this session initially. But I'm very pleased for us to be able to have a conversation with Anita Schneyder from Teams on Purpose and how perfect things pan out. If you just think about it, as I said, we double booked this session initially. Actually, I did. I'll take the responsibility here. And the first speaker couldn't make it. Luckily, Anita had it beautifully penned into her diary. And typically, things always pan out the way that it's meant to be. The start of a new financial year means new opportunities, but also what is now the purpose of the year ahead? I thought, who better than Anita to be able to walk us through that and to make sure that our team knows why we're doing things and also how we're going to make it happen together. So, Anita Schneyder, Teams on Purpose, welcome to Beyond Business.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Bram and Kylie. And I absolutely agree. Sometimes things work out in the way that they're meant to work out. So, yeah, wonderful to be here on this 1st of July.
That's it. We got, unfortunately, Arthur, who's overseas and the internet isn't great, so he won't be joining us today. But at least we've got a good trio here to walk us through, and I can already see that some people are joining us here live. Now, without further ado, first of all, quick rundown for everyone. Anita, your background is basically ex-accountant, ex-general manager, now a leading leadership and teams trainer and consultant. What would you say that is for you the reason why you went on to a business that was all about teams on purpose? Like, why was that important to you in terms of the people that you serve?
Such a good question. I think I, like many good accountants, I actually stepped into leadership accidentally. I got promoted overnight from an accountant to a general manager, and it's really interesting in leadership because I spent 6 years training to be an accountant, and overnight, all of a sudden, I was a leader, and I really didn't have the expertise, confidence, or skill set to, navigate this leadership gig. So it was a school of hard knocks approach, and I found it quite difficult at that point. So the whole reason I'm here essentially is to help other leaders lead teams more effectively, so they don't have to go through those, the same struggle that I did. I've also seen a lot of dysfunction in the workplace, and I guess one of my missions is to create happy, healthy workplaces where people, belong, they're seen and they're heard. So that's the key driving factor. I think early in my career in accounting, I really saw things very black and white. It was all about the return on investment and the money and the profit. And over time, I realized, well, if we want to impact that, we have to focus on the people first, because they're the only ones that can actually create great systems that help our customers and then impact the bottom line. So starts with the people, and I realized that along the way. So hence why I'm here today.
That's so wonderful. Kylie, do you got anything particular already that you want to take us off on with Anita?
Yeah, I love the passion, Anita, that comes through. I coin it accidental leadership, right? Because there's so many people that are great technicians, great practitioners, great at what they do, and then all of a sudden they're in a leadership role. Now, there are 26 different core competencies. We've lost Anita. There's 26 different core competencies that leaders need in order to lead. Now, Anita was talking about, well, I'm an accountant. So she went and did a degree on how to become an accountant. They teach you the core competencies you need. You think about it from a psychologist, or you think about it from a doctor, or you think about it from a lawyer or a financial planner, right? We go to university to learn these core competencies. But no one ever teaches you these core competencies when you're a leader. And there's 26 of them. So I'm absolutely passionate, as you, Anita, in making sure that these leaders know how to delegate, know how to manage underperformance, how to lead change, how to communicate, how to provide feedback in order to inspire and grow people. So I'm really passionate about that part of it as well. And I just think there's so many businesses out there that actually are focused on the profit. They're focused on the numbers. They're focused on the strategy, but it's actually the people that deliver that. It's the people first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Anita, I talk about, investments. she's gone again. I talk about, leadership is an investment, not a cost. For businesses, don't you reckon, Bram, they still see leadership as a cost, not as an investment?
Yeah. Look, definitely some of those organizations might be here, and welcome back, Anita. You can see everybody.
I really apologize. I think I'm going into the abyss. I'm not sure what's happening. I apologize if it happens again. I picked up this conversation, Bram and Carly, and I can't agree more. I think there's a real lack of understanding, I think, out there in our workplaces and our organizations around the importance of developing leaders. I think especially as I step into leadership, I see a big gap. Often the development is focused in the C-suite or the executive level with a smaller amount of spend early on. But I think if we can capture our leaders early when they first step into their supervisor role or their team leader role, and actually help them go on the journey and build their capability, we're going to see really, great, amazing senior leaders. So, yeah, I'm very, very passionate about this.
Yeah.
Do you know? Sorry, go, Bram.
Just a question here. Thanks, Carly. Anita, for any leader there that is right now kind of getting ready for a great year and wants their team on board, how would you suggest them to tease out what that purpose really is that could set everyone on fire? Because let's be honest, we all seen the what I call the walls of shame. Really, they say all these great things on the walls, but then the actual practice is very different in terms of how people behave, how people live with each other, how people communicate and work with each other. It's not really necessarily demonstrating what it says on the wall or on the website. So how would you suggest leaders to make sure that they really have a very compelling why that sets the team on fire?
I think anything you want to inspire and engage people, you need to have them involved in the process of developing it. So I think sometimes in leadership, we set this great vision, or we set some strategy, or we tell our people what the why is, but it might not be their why. So I think if we really want to get people engaged and on board, we have to collaboratively develop, things like this together. One of the things that I do with teams is we look at, well, why does this team exist? And every team should have a really clear purpose, because otherwise, why are they part of that organization? Another way of putting it is, what is our most important work? So what value are we providing? Why are we actually here? What value are we providing back to the organization? And developing that as a team, so every single person knows what they're here to do. It's very interesting when, especially working with leadership teams, you ask a leadership team, what is your purpose? Why do you exist? and they'll come up with 8, 9, 10 different purpose statements because they're coming at it from their specific lens, thinking about their patch in the business, whether that's finance, operations, marketing. They're not thinking about the leadership team as a whole. And really a leadership team's purpose is to develop and lead strategy, build a great culture and lead our people. So it's pretty simple. So we have to have everyone aligned on why they're actually there, because that's going to determine where they spend their time and where they focus their attention. If the why is not there, it can be very hard to understand, well, what are we actually doing here? Why are we getting up Monday morning and and coming to work? So it's incredibly an important motivator of purpose.
Yep. And specifically, what does that process look like, ideally speaking, from your experience?
Normally, it's a bit of individual work first. So thinking about, why does this team exist? What's going to motivate you? And it can often be sort of inspirational or can be aspirational, or however you'd like to put it. But, then every individual needs to kind of come together with their purpose. And then we work collaboratively together to, come up with a few different purposes and then blend them together, and then a few different purposes and blend them together until we get one. Then we do a bit of sense checking. Is this the reason? Does this light you up? Does this get you excited? If it doesn't, then it's not very motivating. So yeah, it's kind of a process of getting closer and closer with our purpose.
Beautiful. Kylie.
We didn't plan this, so the audience, I'm just letting you know that Bram and I didn't talk before this, but I'm running a workshop with a group of leaders in childcare, okay, and it's all around the heart of what you do. So I'm going to sort of take what Anita said. She's talking about it from the company perspective. What's our purpose? What's our why? And I think that is critically important. But I also think in order to ignite that passion in people, we have to understand their why. So let me give the audience 4 questions, okay? 4 questions. What's a moment in your role where you felt proud, lit up, or deeply fulfilled? And what made that moment so special? So what was that? Question 1. Question 2, if someone asked you, what do you do? Not how, but not what or how, but why do you do? What do you say from the heart? Third one is think back to when you started. What drew you into this industry? Okay. What did you hope to give or create? And then the 4th question is, what do you want? And in this situation, it's children and families, but what do you want your team to remember because you were in their life? Okay. So as organizations, I absolutely think we've got to have that guiding light. But I think we also need to remember what lights us up. And if people can answer those 4 questions, or if leaders can take those 4 questions and run a little session within their team, that'll help them just to reignite that passion. Because sometimes I think we get busy. It's end of financial year. People are exhausted. We're ready to start the new year. Let's start it on a really great note.
Yeah.
So those are incredibly powerful questions, Kylie. And I just, I'll echo those thoughts because some of the audience may have heard this story before, but when, JFK went to visit the NASA site and he walked down the hallway at NASA and he saw a cleaner there, cleaning the floor. And he asked the cleaner, what's your role at NASA? And the cleaner said, I'm helping put man on the moon. So I think this cleaner, knew exactly how he was contributing to the bigger picture. And that kept him going every day, even though the work was really mundane. And I think that's the same for our people as well. It's if you think you're just a cog in the wheel, or that the work that you're doing is not important or not meaningful, it can be very demotivating and impact on our performance and well-being at work. But if we know that we're working towards something bigger and we're part of the contribution to the bigger purpose, I think that that meaning comes in, and where the motivation comes in too.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Sorry. So just to add on to that, Anita, sometimes I think businesses are so busy that we forget to stop and just get present again. We're so busy, quick. Now we get to the next project, next initiative, next thing. Just stop do what we were just talking about there, and reset.
Yeah, so true. I always say that speed is only useful if you're going in the right direction. And there's a lot of organizations going at speed, but they're not getting anywhere because they haven't taken the time out to actually get clarity on some of the things like the purpose, why we exist, you know, what's our most important work, how are we going to get there, who's going to do what, you know, all of those types of things. So everyone's not on the same page. They're not aligned. So they're not getting anywhere, but actually just taking some time. You've got to set aside time initially, but it's a short-term pain for the long-term gain. If you just do that initially, you'll actually get a lot further and move in the direction where you should be moving.
I love that the comment there on the speed, because I think we've got to all be very mindful as leaders that if, like, the risk sometimes of not getting the purpose right is that you'll find things like the following: all my staff aren't motivated. All my staff just, you know, they're just rocking up, clocking in at the time, and then 5 minutes before it's due time, they're gone. Or you know, people are not really pulling their weight as much, or, you know, I got to be the driver and get people on board, and all these sorts of things. That's a risk, but that's just symptoms that people aren't really attached to or connected to the why and the purpose of the whole organization. I remember, just as an example, a few years back, this is prior to COVID, I did a 2-day workshop with an operations team from the Australian Submarine Corporation. And I remember at the end of that 2 days, the team had come up with their why. And it was very different from the corporate type why that was on the website, right? But you could have heard the excitement of this team of 24 project managers, you know, and team leaders and the like, and even the general manager who was presiding over a group of 700 people to deliver these submarines in terms of maintenance. And the guy at the end said, guys, I thought I knew where I wanted to get to, but you guys as a collective came up with these beautifully compelling things that gets me on fire, and then it creates electricity in my veins. Well done. And I remember months later, those people were wearing that collective created purpose as a signature on their emails. And you could see they were wearing it like a badge of pride. Months later, even a year later. And they kept referring to it. So back to your idea of the cleaner, and there's Anita gone again at NASA. I think that's really good. The good side of the good example of, if you get the right purpose, people will not take notice, and people will really be lit up, and it will sustain their energy over time. Now, much for time. And Kylie, any thoughts of yours while Anita's finding her way back?
I'm going to do 2 thoughts, okay? I think the first thought is just to extend on what you've said, is that as an organisation, we should have a vision, mission and purpose, okay? For sure. That's our overarching umbrella for our strategy. But every team should have a vision, mission and purpose, okay? Because that drives that team to remind them of the piece in the puzzle that they contribute to that overarching vision, mission and purpose in the organisation. The second that I'll say is that Gallup just did research that just came out 6 months ago, or maybe just a little bit less. It said only 21% of employees feel that their managers have the skills to lead them. So that's 79% actually go, you know what, my manager has not the skills to lead me. So we need to be able to give the skills to the leaders so that they know how to inspire, develop visions, mission, purpose, to be able to get people to inspire their why and lead them. So I'm all for this. I think there's enough research out there that says we need to see these as an investment, not as a cost.
Those statistics are quite shocking, but also not surprising.
Oh, totally. And I think it's because we do not, we're trying to cut. We're trying to cut costs. We're trying to cut employees. We're trying to cut things, but still achieve. I'm conscious of the time, and I know that we've got one question that I'd really like Anita to answer before we lose her again.
I'm so sorry.
Lucky Brahm and I can talk underwater. So one of the one question is that what is the one piece of advice, Anita, you would give business leaders who actually want to create an impact but don't know where to start?
It's a big question. I think I'm going to keep down the line of what we've been talking about. And the whole reason I started teams on purpose is do things with intent. Don't just go on the hamster wheel at work and, do the reactive type work. Actually take the time out to do the strategic, big picture thinking and think.
And that was then it. You see, guys, this is really, everything is live what we're doing here, which is why we're going bouncing off in and out a little bit with some of the internet connections not being always as reliable. But we had you still there on being strategic, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I've got 2 minutes. But be strategic, be strategic and intentional with everything, your time, your relationships with people. Every action you're doing should have an intent behind it. So use your time wisely. We only have a certain number of minutes in the day. And I think that just to take the time out to actually assess what are the important things that you need to be doing, and having that space to do so, because we do not get the time to do that on a day-to-day basis. I think I'll leave it there just in case I do cut out again, and you guys can take it from here. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Anita. This was great. And I hope this is of value to everybody out there. It's great that, Carly, that you closed with our ending question there. And we had Anita back, which is wonderful. Everybody who's joined, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in a fortnight with yet another guest. And hopefully you are clear on your intent, and so is your team. If not, do something about it starting today. Thank you so much, and I wish you a great day. And Arthur, we'll see you again soon too.
I saw he was watching. Thanks, Anita.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Thanks.